Hello and welcome to another episode of Intune.training, the place to learn how to use Microsoft Intune, the Steve and Adam Show with Ben. Hello. And our special guest today, Riley Childs. You might know him as the Duck. He is Microsofty these days, been a Microsofty for a while. So Riley has agreed to come and correct some of our past sins and show us what we've done wrong with advanced threat hunting. But before we get started, Riley, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hey, my name is Riley Childs. I'm also known as the Duck or Duck. I am part of the Microsoft Detection and Response team, which is Microsoft's incident response, customer-facing incident response team. I've also been doing SCCM and configuration manager, so I'm very infrastructure focused. I'm not. It's very recently that I've gotten to all this wonderful security stuff. But I've been doing SCCM, configuration manager, and Intune for probably about 4-ish or 5-ish years now. And I'm very excited to be here and kind of show you guys how the process you would go through to look for threats in the environment and pivot off of alerts that you see in MDATP.
Cool, awesome. Well, so before we start diving into the tech, Riley, I know that you have a what do you call it, the Hambulance? Is that correct?
So I owned it with my roommate. We each went in. He bought me out of my house. I would say probably about a month and a half ago, right before I moved down to Chattanooga.
Okay.
Just because I'm in a 500 square foot apartment with one parking space, I cannot park a ambulance-sized vehicle anymore. But no, it was built to do ham stuff and radio.
Ham radio, awesome. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So it was a full-on ambulance equipped with all the ham radio stuff, and
yeah.
You said before, I think you go to like ham radio meetups and things like that. So it was like a portable kit.
Yeah. So the whole point was it was a easy way to transport a lot of large amateur radio equipment and be able to just get on the air basically anywhere. My roommate who built it has done most of the work on it, to be honest, because I've been out traveling so much. But it's got all the equipment needed to basically get on the air and start talking.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. And you also are one of the one of the organizers for DreamHack?
No, so I'm not an organizer. I'm the network. I'm one of the team leads for network. For the network core team. Basically, we build the core network for DreamHack North America events.
Okay.
Just going through and set up the switching, the routing, so that we can route at 10 gigabit a second to provide internet for the Bring Your Own Computer event and all the other awesome events that go on at those. So that's a neat little hobby.
Sweet. And I think the most notable thing for me is, and the way I know Riley is. Riley's one of the admins for the WinAdmins Discord, formerly WinAdmins Slack channel, and he hangs out there pretty regularly. And I've never met someone with so much knowledge about so many things. So come hang out with Riley on the at WinAdmins Discord. It's aka.ms/WinAdmins. And you can thank Riley for that alias, because he's got access now to do those things. All right. So enough about Riley. Let's get to what you know here, Riley. So the reason he's not the reason, but one of the reasons he's here is our video for, I think about 2 weeks ago, we released was titled Advanced Threat Hunting with Microsoft Defender ATP, and it was really, as Ben referred to it, as how to get to see money. So, and Riley messaged me and said, "Hey man, you said it was threat hunting, and you didn't hunt any threats. Would you like me to come show you how to do that?" And I said, yeah, absolutely, please bring it on. So I may have mistitled the video just a little bit there. Sorry if you were misled, but this is
not really that sorry.
Clickbait.
Watch this one instead.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, Riley, you've got some demo content to show us, but before you get into that piece, let's talk a little bit about the real world experience you're seeing with security, security in the real world. We got this running joke here where I despise security things. And it's not that it's just that it's difficult and it's complex and it's vague and it's, it's all of these things that make an IT admin's job very difficult because there's no clear direction many times with what do you do? What do we trust? How do we prove that? And more importantly, how do I prove that to the IT organization and to the business that we are safe and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So as part of your experience with the DART team, you are working with organizations who are getting actively, that have incidents, and you're going in to help them rescue their environments and track down what's going on. So you're getting to see a lot of the real world. Here's what they did wrong. Here's what they should have done. Here's how we can fix them and protect them moving forward. Mm-hmm. So talk a little bit about that before we jump in on the threat hunting side.
Yeah. So basically, a lot of what I see in the field boils down to bad credential hygiene. Just kind of talking about the real world. Everything from just simple passwords up to the fact that you've got a service account that has domain admin that's logging in to every single box in your environment, and we can potentially leverage that and move laterally. And a lot of what we're seeing, and especially what I'm seeing, and not that it's necessarily every single threat out there, but the majority of what I deal with is what are called like determined human adversaries. So someone who is hands-on keyboard person who is actively trying to hack in your environment. Right. And that's where tooling like Defender ATP comes into play, because a lot of times, and as I'll talk about here shortly, there are threats that just aren't picked up by antivirus, and it's not. And you can have the best antivirus in the world and the best heuristics in the world and the best machine learning in the world, but a lot of it boils down to there's someone that is always going to be trying to get one step ahead of you, and this helps you get ahead of them. Is that kind of what you were after, Adam?
Yes. So, so give me an example of a normal attack that you see and maybe that plays into your demo. So, I don't want to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So a lot of what we're seeing, at least a lot of what I see, is stuff like PowerShell. So there's a lot of PowerShell exploitation that goes out. Stuff whether it be Cobalt Strike or PowerShell Empire or name a framework where they'll encode a command and then either they'll find a web shell, which that's actually one of the things that I'm going to show how you can detect those. Mm-hmm. They'll find a web shell, so a vulnerable web application, and they'll just execute code on a misconfigured IIS box and pop it and get system. And then from there they can pivot on from there. Or they'll find, or it's as simple as a phishing campaign like the MDATP banking Trojan, which was distributed via various phishing campaigns where a user downloads it and now bam, we now infected a network. And oftentimes whoever's running that malware will then pivot themselves, or they'll sell the access to someone else to go and actually do the attack.
Yeah.
That's cool. I can't even comprehend the mindset of the people doing these things. It's just, I guess it's because you can, right? Just exactly. do your thing.
It's a way to make money, and we've occasionally talked about it, and it's just one of those things I could never put myself in the shoes and actively do these attacks. Yeah, because it's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It's
the lowest of low. Like, this is so dirty. Yeah. Why in the world would you do that?
Gotta eat, dude.
Yeah. It's all about making the money.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Now you mentioned PowerShell, and we've talked at length about PowerShell and understanding of the execution policies for PowerShell. And if we get time at the end, I'd love to circle back to that. I don't want to detract from the threat hunting, but
I'd like about it. You'll see an instance of it.
Great, let's do it. All right, so demo time. Let's make it happen.
All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and feel free to make fun of me because I do at my home lab. My main lab is actually vSphere, so connecting a VMware workstation, and it's just it's what I've been using for years and years and years before I joined Microsoft. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, I literally had this conversation last night with someone.
As you can see here, I got quite a few alerts in here. I don't have very many machines in here, but we're going to kind of hop through these, take a look at them. I have 2 Windows 10 VMs, one that's Azure AD joined, one that's joined to regular old on-premises AD, and then a web box, a domain root, that sort of awesome stuff.
Riley, would you can you zoom in to about 125-ish?
Let me see if I can make my,
or just in the browser. Probably is okay.
Oh, the browser. Okay.
Yep.
Let me see. Let me do that then. How's that? Too big?
Yeah, I think that'll work. Yep.
There we go.
We'll find out later in the comments.
So I'm gonna snooze this for 1 hour because that would get rid of all the wonderful little the little backdoors that I dropped. Because MDATP did a great job at detecting all the stuff that I tried to do, to the point that some of the things that went undetected purely because I broke Defender. Intentionally broke Defender.
Wow.
That's you got to do it.
Well, it was so that I could actually get some stuff. It was more of that it was doing too good of a job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a bunch of these boxes here, and I got a couple alerts. So let's kind of just when I'm working with a customer, if a customer does have MDATP, which occasionally does happen, we will look at this, and oftentimes there'll be alerts in here that we can pivot off of. Not always, but sometimes. And we can take a look at, like, for example, so there's suspicious metainterpreter behavior was detected. And metainterpreter is part of what is the Metasploit framework, which is an exploitation framework and that you can use, that an adversary or bad guy could use to get into your environment, that sort of thing. We've got a couple Office processes dropped. We'll get into those later. Let's go ahead and let's hop over to these suspicious PowerShell command lines.
Awesome.
Hey, sounds great.
So let's see which boxes these are on. So perfect, that wonderful little web box you were looking at earlier. Okay, let's hop over to that guy. See if I can. Oh, not good. So one of the neat little things that I don't know if you guys have had the opportunity to kind of dig into the alert tree, and I do. Let me zoom this out a little bit because otherwise it's going to be
that's fun.
Yeah,
just a mess. These wonderful little alert tree here that shows us all up to the point of the initiating process from where we detected the threat. So in this case, we noticed, oh, that's really weird. Some W3P, which is IIS, is executing a command to, in this case, download a file called 1.exe from this IP address. So we can kind of take that and we can make an assumption that this IP address, this just looks wrong. So this IP address looks kind of suspicious. So typically I'll take that. Normally on a gig we'd use OneNote, but in this case I'm just going to go ahead and drop that in a notepad right here to make note of later. And something else that's good to make note of is the fact that the spawning process for the PowerShell was wp.exe, which is IIS. And this is what you were just talking about, Adam, that whole thing about PowerShell. So on all these systems, my PowerShell execution policy is actually set to all signed. But I was able to execute this just fine. And even though this doesn't look like it's a script, it actually is. It's multiple commands chained together just with semicolons to form a kind of script right there. Yeah. And we were able to run that just fine. No problems at all. Let us go right on through. Because, and we can kind of talk more in depth about this later, but because the PowerShell execution policy is not a security mechanism, well, it is kind of a security mechanism. Its point is script to ensure script integrity, so that when you run a script, you know what it is. It's been signed. It's a validation that the script has.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's a validation, not a prevention mechanism.
Exactly. You can just remove the signature and run a modified script, that sort of thing. Anyway, so we've got this information here. We know that I always mess up. So W3WP, which is once again the process for IIS. So we can take that information and we can do a couple different things. I did not mean to click on alert. We can go ahead and we can see in timeline, which will show us in the machine's timeline where we saw that alert. And this is something that I would go ahead and I'd say, hey, Mr. Customer, can I get a copy of the IIS logs for this date? Because I want to see what else was going on in IIS around this time frame. But we can see up to the point where it spawned that PowerShell right there. And something that's neat now that we can do is advanced hunting. So we can come in here, and it's going to be slow. And we can say, okay, so, and I know, and I kind of know the schema pretty well off the back of my, like the back of my hand here. So because I'm in here so much.
Is
so
this in Kusto?
Yes, this is all in Kusto. Yes, yes. So everything here is in Kusto query language. You'll notice a reoccurring theme across Microsoft products that we really like Kusto query language. And if you don't know it and you're doing anything with log analysis or anything like that, it's definitely a good language to know. Or if you're looking at getting a Sentinel, that sort of thing.
And I thought I was getting a handle on Kusto, and then I got a block of code from one of the config manager devs or Intune devs working on something, and I was like, okay, I give up. I got a little bit more learning.
I absolutely feel like that sometimes with some of the guys that I work with, that just like I cannot spell. Initiating. I just whatever. We'll just scroll down because I can't spell today. Yeah, no, some of the guys
the video last week. That was my problem.
Just they know, they're able to look at so much stuff. So this is going to be a very broad query, and I don't have very much data in my environment, so I'm gonna cheat a little bit, and I'm gonna make a little bit simpler of queries, only because I know that I can hunt for these specific things. But I want to look for something where, let's say, we are going to see W3WP, which is that first statement there, spawning, let's just say file name, anytime it contains or equals cmd.exe, or file name equals PowerShell.exe. So then we can go ahead, we can run that. And it's kind of funny. Normally when I do this, at least recently, I've been doing it on a 38-inch monitor, so this seems so small to me right now. All right.
That header bar is ginormous.
Yeah, I'm going to scroll that up. So now we can look at this here and we can say, oh, wow. W3WP is spawning a lot of cmd.exe and PowerShell. That should not be happening.
Yeah.
So we can kind of look at this and we can say, okay, so we're seeing PowerShell, we're seeing that same alert that we saw earlier. We're seeing a couple other attempts here to execute that and using various methods off of WebDAV, and you'll see that sometimes where an adversary will try several different things before ultimately resorting to something else. And what is interesting here is because of the way that I actually compiled this particular exploit, Defender ATP didn't necessarily pick up on that, but it did pick up on the fact that there was some suspicious PowerShell, and it was downloading a file called system.exe and stored in C Windows.
Yep.
So now that we've done that, we can go ahead and we can pivot, okay, let's see if there's any executions of this file. So what's kind of neat here that we can do, and something that I always do, it all depends on how you want to look at it, is you can say, okay, instead of backspacing that all out, it's just like SQL Server Management Studio, right? You can just say, let's
highlight the block that you want to work on.
Well, so it's even better. And I actually have a hotkey map because I think it's Shift Enter or Shift F5. I don't even remember what it is. I just have a button on my keyboard that runs the keystroke. so that it will automatically do that. But you just have to up arrow to it and hit F5 and it's good to go. And you can just run that query. So let's see here. And there's a lot of good data in here that you can get out of here besides just stuff. I think you guys may have done a video on all the data that's in here in addition to just security stuff that you might want to get about a system. So we're going to take a.
We were talking about the whole Intune side of it and why we do auditing and everything associated.
Yeah.
We're by no means experts in the security field, nor trying to be.
Yeah, but it's just there's just so much data in here that's useful to more than just security folks.
Totally. Yeah.
Exactly.
But we can take a look here, and we can now look for device process events where, let's say, it would be folder path, I believe. Yeah, folder path. So we're going to say where folder path contains c:\\windows /system.exe, which for the acutely aware is not a system executable.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now see all this stuff going on. We see that it's executing a system, which IIS in this case is intentionally misconfigured. It's one of those things that I did to make it a little easier on myself when doing this exploit. It's intentionally misconfigured to run a system. You should never have IIS running a system if you can avoid it. So now we can actually, one of the neat things here is we have in there, we can take a look at the MD5 hash for that file or the SHA. Normally you want to look at the SHA-256 because MD5 and SHA-1 do have hash collisions. And we do notice that this did have a malware detection for the Metinterpreter. One of the reasons, it came from the cloud service. And something that I don't know, how familiar are you guys with the difference with maps and the Microsoft cloud protection at all? The difference. Nope. So one of the important things that we like to make sure that customers are aware of is the fact that when you're using Defender, there is multiple types levels of protection you get with Defender, not just ATP, but just vanilla Defender. We have maps or basically the Microsoft Cloud, which is where we will send a small sample of the file up to the cloud for analysis as part of a detection. And if that is turned off, you are missing a significant portion of the threats because this hash is not this file. We don't have a signature for this file. We have a signature for the behavior, and you're missing a lot of the behavior analytics if you have that functionality turned off. And it's the same. The same goes through whether it's Defender or whether it's Symantec or any other product. It's a similar sort of thing. If you don't allow samples to be collected and analyzed, you're going to miss these things because the cloud service can analyze that. And that's just want to point that out because it indicates the source right there. So we know that's a bad file. If we wanted to, we can go ahead right now and say stop and quarantine file and add an indicator. But what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to actually come back into advanced hunting. So we know that's a bad file. Let's go ahead and see what that is communicating with, so that we can get what's called a C2, which is just which is essentially the command and control address that this particular binary would be communicating to. Right
now, Riley, before you go into that, so I always try to ask the questions that I think people would ask. Where would you enable the cloud piece of Defender? What is that? How is that? Where would I find that?
Yeah, let's go ahead and I'll even show you in the Intune portal. Hang on 1 second.
Endpoint.
Endpoint. See, I'm still doing
aka.ms/MEMAC.
So I stopped doing Intune, I think probably like 4 months ago now.
And it's all bled out?
It isn't all bled out. It's just it's one of those things where I've always been going to devicemanagement.microsoft.com.
Oh, sure, sure.
So I have a Defender all, and you're going to notice that I'm not following my own advice when I show you this policy. Because it's going to have certain aspects turned off.
Well, everybody knows when you need to get stuff done, you turn off all the security stuff and everything works. So I get
That's
it.
right. It's just
Well,
magic.
it was working too well. Because I'm not an exploit author. I'm not an expert at authoring exploits. So
Sure.
I was like, I'm just going to make it easy for myself and turn off the security.
Tell you what, though, I hear it's pretty lucrative. Maybe you should consider
Anyway, this is cloud delivered protection, and the way it's worded in like, it's called maps if you look at it in the configuration manager console, and the way that it's worded, in my opinion, is sometimes I think it confuses people, basically because if you read it, it implies that we're going to send all your data to Microsoft, and that's absolutely not the case. We're sending very specific samples for analysis and execution, and looking at the behavior, and not even necessarily always sending the sample. Sometimes we're just saying the first 5 seconds of executing, what is this doing and what does it look like?
Mm-hmm.
So I have that off here, and that's the cloud delivered protection. And it's very important to have that on because, like I said, you're going to miss a lot of stuff. So that's where that sits. And by default, I think the default is on. Yeah, so default, which allows user to disable it. So by default, it's on. So if you haven't done anything with it, it's going to be on. If you've turned it off, I would recommend you revisit that decision. And I normally will set this to the default level. Just leave it set to not configured because even the lowest level still provides protection, but high is where we would let it sit. It requires and this actually gives a better description than I can. I'll try and zoom in on that a little bit. But basically it's better than
Ben, you can read well. You want to read that for us?
Can I? All right, so cloud delivered protection level, specify the level of cloud delivered protection, not configured, uses the default Microsoft Defender antivirus blocking level, and provides strong detection without increasing the risk of detecting legitimate files. High applies a strong level of detection. High plus uses the high level and applies additional protection measures, which may impact client performance. And zero tolerance blocks all unknown executables. While unlikely, setting to high may cause some legitimate files to be detected. We recommend you set this to the default level.
Yeah, and that's why in more secure environments, you definitely want to set that to high. If you have a very high confidence level in what's in your environment, if you're very strict on whitelisting and that sort of thing, high plus or zero tolerance is where you want to be, but you typically want to leave that set at not configured.
So that note that it had in the information there that it may impact system performance or client performance. Is that prevalent enough that like it's a thing that you genuinely need to be concerned about that your devices may be impacted?
It depends on what your devices are doing. It depends on what types of things you're running. If you have a lot of heavy line of business applications or custom line of business applications, that is something where high plus or high might potentially cause performance issues, especially if they're unique to your business.
Sure.
If it's standard sort of, browsing the web, that sort of thing, not necessarily going to have that same. It's one of those things that it may.
Sure. But it's basically don't discount that warning. It's there for a reason.
Yes, okay. It's something that if you're going to up the level, you definitely want to do some testing in your environment, some application testing like you would do with everything else.
Totally. Yep. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I believe so. Is this included? Or do I have to have ATP in order to configure these policies, or is this just part of my Defender policies? I think we talked about it the other day.
Yeah, I think so.
Nope, included with every. This is straight Defender, not Defender Advanced Threat Protection.
So this is the same stuff I could be configuring with Defender from Config Manager or wherever else. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. In case people didn't watch the video with Matt, I just want to make sure that we cover it here too. So we always need to cover some bit of the licensing thing because it always comes up.
Yeah.
This is included. You don't have to pay any extra for this. All levels of, even all the way down to home, has cloud delivered protection built in. It's part of the operating system.
Sweet.
Nice.
Yeah. So any other questions on anything else you guys want to talk about Vanilla Defender, or do you want me to hop back over to the advanced?
Go back to the cool.
Yeah, let's get advanced.
Let's play with
Yeah.
the cool kids.
Yeah.
So at this point, there would be a couple things that I would do. Like I said, I grab those web logs. If this was a Windows 10 box, we could hop right in there with live response, like you guys showed previously, and just grab those ourselves. And I really like live response because it enables me as a responder to just get in there and get it, and not have to go through and say, oh, I need this thing and talk to the server. It's just to get in there and get it. Yeah. Unfortunately, Server 2019 doesn't support live response at this point. So I would have to, I am the admin, so I'm just going to ask myself here in a couple minutes, but look at those web logs. But first, let's go ahead and let's take a look at what that system executable was talking to. So if I grab that right here, so I've got that. You typically, when you're looking for stuff like this and you're looking for something very specific, you want to go off the hash.
Mm-hmm.
So where initiating process SHA-256 equals, we can just go ahead and run the query, and that will bring back, hang on 1 second. Sorry, I think it would be SHA. I'm having my first demo fail. Let's look for the executable name.
Well, that's why you're here.
It is Intune training.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead.
We don't have successful demos here. Just acknowledge it and we move on.
I had a couple of really good ones, and then then I actually joined the team.
What you'll find is this also translates into your day job too.
Yeah.
So we see system.exe and we see communicating with that same remote IP address, that 255.108. So we obviously at this point, we have a fairly high level of confidence that A, someone dropped something somehow on the system through IIS, and B, that person, and B, that the IP address that person is using, their command and control address, is this .108 address. Typically, you would also see in this remote URL column a URL, or potentially you see URL depending on how the adversary built their exploit, and then built the payload, because they would want to be able to, if let's say this is a server and it gets taken down, they might want to be able to repoint their DNS name. So typically you might also see a URL here. In this case, I was being lazy. I just set up an IP address.
Sure.
In my exploit package. So we're going to go ahead here. And now let's see what other systems have been talking with that, the C2, that .108 C2. So we can look at device network events. And once again, I'm being very simplistic with a lot of my queries here just because I can, because I don't have a whole lot of data. So device network events for remote IP. We're going to say that remote IP contains 192. I do not have numlock on. 1 second. So I use, because my keyboard doesn't have a numpad, I actually have a dispatcher pad that I use, but it doesn't have a functioning numlock button. Because it's fully programmable, there's no numlock programmable option. So I have to reach all the way over to my laptop to press numlock.
Yeah. But at least you have to have a cool keyboard for when it counts.
It's important.
Exactly.
So now we see that, oh my gosh, we've got all these systems talking. We've got this web box here. We've got a domain controller, which is no good. We've got our Intune desktop box right here talking to that guy. We have got, and I think that's it, actually. See if there's anything else that I missed. Yeah, so we've got that desktop. So these are a couple systems that we definitely want to take a look at. And what we're actually going to go ahead and do is we definitely want to take, I think now, where do you guys want to go? Do you guys want to look at that log? Do you guys want to, do you want to take a look at the desktop?
Yeah, I guess let's look at the desktop first.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, honestly, when we're on deep into this data, a lot of it is what looks interesting next. I and I'm sure there's people that disagree with me, but a lot of this I don't think is down to an exact science, only because there is so many different ways you can accomplish the same thing.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at the desktop and see what's going on with that. And one of the things that we should point out here, and I am going to go ahead and just project away some of the junk. So another useful command when you're in KQL is the project command, because as you can see, I've got all these columns here. And like I said, I'm a little spoiled because I got a monitor that's wide enough to display all these columns normally. But so we can go ahead and we can say we want to see the device name. We want to see the initiating process SHA-256. We want to see the remote IP. We want to see the remote URL. And let's go ahead. We want to see the initiating process command line right there.
Cool.
Now we're going to go ahead and run that one more time. And then let's see what is actually next up. So of course we've got that a system.exe again, which is kind of weird on a domain controller. So we're going to have to check to see what that's about. And then we've got on this desktop right here, we've got, again, downloading this time a zip file and then executing this mrtp.exe. So let's kind of drill down into what's going on with that there. So we can say device process events again. So in device, and kind of just to explain these tables a little bit, and the two that I'll hunt in, these are kind of the three ones, or the four, I guess, right here that I look in for a lot of stuff.
Maybe
I'll
five.
look for maybe five. It's also login events. Maybe all of them. Sometimes I don't know. I'm feeling that day. Anyway, the device process events and device network events contain all of the information on the system, all the action on the system that relate to processes and network events, obviously.
Yeah.
But the neat thing that you got going on here is this will say, all right, so what started the process? What ran? What was the command line? That sort of stuff. And these are just really good tables to kind of keep looking through.
Sure.
So let's see here. We've got this mrtp.exe. We've got this power. So this is actually, if we look here, this is going to be the hash for PowerShell. So we're really interested in how did that guy get on the system. So there's a couple different places that we can look. Let's go ahead and see if we have any events regarding that particular SHA. So add initiating process equals SHA-256.
That's
That's a handy dandy little thing you can right click on basically anything here. And it's been one of the ways that I've kind of learned KQL.
Totally, yeah. I mean, it's a really good way to learn. And you don't have problems with your keyboard typing skills, words.
Oh, and also while we're talking about something I can speak about is that customize column also works instead of doing project. You can just check the boxes off.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Exactly, nice and easy. And I've never used customize column. Not once.
You're welcome.
Look, and I guess
as long as you know how to do it once, then you can do the shortcuts. It's like if you need to do it longhand, you need to know. But if you don't have to, why waste time?
Yeah,
exactly.
That's fair.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of times, what we'll do is you can take this query, and I guess you guys get a little sidetracked, but why not?
That's okay. That's what we do.
You can save this as.
Yeah.
So
These are the only bits I'm going to know how to do at the end of this thing.
Click a button and save it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can save it, and there's a bunch of community queries in here as well. If you don't know what you're looking for, you're just kind of starting to hunt. There are people out there that they'll spend multiple whole days in here. This is their entire day hunting through this data.
Yeah, wow.
Trying to identify things that don't exist. There's actually an offering that Microsoft has called, just to kind of little plug here, it's called Microsoft Threat Experts, where there's a live human being that, in addition to the machine learning and the alerting that we have, will be hunting in a very similar sort of anonymized interface on your behalf,
Cool.
And servicing alerts for you. So we can just save this as query. I know, very descriptive. But yeah, that's whatever there. So we can take a look to see. All right, so we got this mrtp.exe. We can do a couple different things with this. We can just take a look to see what's going on this desktop. There's going to be a couple alerts here. So let's see if we can figure out how that payload got there in the first place. So we've got our buddy Andy Carr. He's the most frequent user. And if you were to click on him, I think you guys have shown this before. You can see, oh look, he's a domain admin.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So
Everybody should be domain admin, right?
Yeah, by default, everyone should be domain admin.
What you do is you add the all users group to the domain admin group, right?
Yeah.
As much as I jest about that, I have actually seen that in a production environment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no, of course. No, I've seen it too. There are people out there that are running, their only account is a domain admin.
Yeah.
If we take a look at this list of alerts here for this box, someone who's definitely been trying to party with this box here. They have, look, we got a metinterpreter dropped. We got office process dropped and execute a TE file. Yeah. Suspicious files dropped and all that good stuff. And actually what I'm going to go ahead and do here is I can switch over to, and that's the other thing that I do I am going to say it. Something that sometimes bugs me about Hyper-V is the fact that I can't get I can't do the tab thing.
Sure, yeah.
So, oh my gosh, we've got that executable just running right there. So let's stop that, and we'll actually see it. We can make it so we can see an alert trigger. So I got my buddy Andy here. He got an email from his mom with information about his salary. He's going to go ahead and he's going to launch that. Word is properly misconfigured already. So all I have to do is hit enable editing. And then, oh my gosh, what's going on here? There's a little macro that, downloads. And once again, Defender would normally stop this and block this. I've intentionally broken Defender to allow this to happen. So we're just going to let that run in the background, and we'll actually see a new alert surface here in a minute. But basically, if we look, we see all that stuff. So let's take a look at this alert for office process dropped and execute a PE file. In case you didn't know, Office executing files that aren't Office is normally a bad sign.
Very, very, very bad sign.
So we see that, okay, so all this stuff up here that, once again, we see the entire process tree all the way up to dude logged on, user init ran, export.exe launched, someone opened Outlook, and then Windward opened a document. So we can generally assume that Outlook.exe that the guy got a phishing email, and we saw that there, but we see all these different alerts. So Windward is not only an Office application runs suspicious commands, Microsoft Word, a suspicious behavior by Word was observed. Word is run in PowerShell. Something's not right here.
Yeah.
So, and of course, now we see here, okay, PowerShell.exe bypass, blah, 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 net credential, all that good stuff. It's a similar command that we saw with the web shell that we were looking at, or what we assume is a web shell. We're downloading a zip file, but this time, because this time it being executable, we're downloading a zip file and we're extracting that, and then we're running whatever was in that zip file. I'm being a little noisy here. The typical adversary would not be quite as noisy as I'm being, or quite as, I would say, obvious. Once again, I'm not an expert at this, and I'm glad I'm not. So now we see all this stuff. We're able to look down the path here. We can see, once again, this mrtp.exe. So that's definitely a file of interest. So we're going to actually go ahead here, and we're going to take the SHA-1. And we're going to put it on our notepad here to come back to later. So we see it once again. It's dropping it, it's executing it, and we have texted it. And what's really neat here is, so we can click a button right there, and it takes us right into VirusTotal. So if there's and I use VirusTotal a lot throughout my day if I find a hash. And this is the example of the file that I felt very proud of, that I was able to make, that Defender didn't detect, which isn't really being all that proud, but because
It's fun. Take
not
it.
be,
So
not be detected by machine, not be detected without machine learning is not
Yeah, right.
not that big of an accomplishment.
can I put a clause in there saying that we've disabled Defender for it not to be detected? Because we're not saying that Microsoft didn't detect this. It was because we explicitly defined the product to not find it.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry for if I'm not being clear there. Yeah, I didn't.
No, that's okay. I'm just trying to cover both you and my.
The Kool-Aid is delicious.
Assets.
Yeah. So basically, and just kind of talking a second here about VirusTotal. I uploaded the file to VirusTotal. So when it uses the Microsoft, you'll see Microsoft listed somewhere in here. Microsoft right there. VirusTotal it's doing a static analysis, so it's only looking for the signatures, no cloud protection, no nothing.
Yeah.
So once again, want to make that nice and clear that if cloud protection was enabled, this would have been detected.
Sure.
But in this instance, it was not.
And it would have been detected actively on the client, not not elevated as a threat in this console.
Yeah. In fact, if we take a look in here, we will see where Defender detected. And thank you, Steve, for covering your ass and mine.
Not a problem at all.
What a team player.
So we'll see. You see all these here. This is remediation complete, threat removed or restored. So that was me. This is it detecting the process starting and detecting it as MetaTrpter. So it did see it. I just told it to ignore it.
Yeah.
On the client. I told it to put it.
What you'd see is from time to time, some customers will turn and make these changes in their environment because they don't want to impact the users. And this is it's a relevant demonstration because it's important to know that these can happen quite easily.
Yeah. Especially a lot of times very early on, customers who are using Defender made the decision, we don't want to send any data at all to Microsoft. So they're going to turn that off. I turned it off to make it easy on myself and be able to make sure that my exploit didn't get necessarily captured by just the run-of-the-mill Defender, making sure that it got caught by Defender ATP. So it's something that we can come in here and do is we can say, okay, so it's weird. We didn't catch that file. Let's go. We can go ahead. We can actually collect it. We can stop and quarantine. And I'm going to go ahead, just in this case, I'm going to force that to happen. It seems bad. So it's now on so apparently it's seated on 2 systems. So let's go ahead and let's see where else we've seen it. Observed in organization. And we've seen it 2 places. We've also seen it on server US ADDS. So let's see what we've been going on, what's been happening over on that box now.
It's been owned.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, now your domain controller's owned. So that's no good. But let's see if we can figure it. So one of the questions that we want to answer, not just the fact that the adversary ran a command and they established a session. We want to answer, what did they do?
Yep.
And in this instance, we can take this information here. We can say, okay, let's look at device network events or device process events where device name contain, I'm just being simple here, 01, so just contains ADDS 01, where, what are we looking for here?
MSRP, isn't it?
Yeah, I think MSRT. Yeah, MRTP.
Sorry.
Yeah. Where initiating process name, process file name contains MRTP. All right, so we're going to load that up there. We're going to see, oh, look at all these times. So, is it still loading? So that's interesting. So it's spawned the process a couple times on the system as system, which means it's running as a service or a scheduled task.
And somebody is an administrator in it.
Well, yeah, that is concerning. Absolutely. And
because we've done the right thing and used the default naming convention for the administrator account.
Yeah, they renamed it. So, and this actually, without even looking any further, this does tell us a couple things. What this tells us is that somehow they managed to pop the administrator account. So we would now have to look to see how that happened. So we can only assume the very first event that we have is for that web box. So we're probably going to find ourselves back in that web box here pretty shortly. But a lot of this, as you're going through, you'll see it's following the trail, following that path and seeing where things lead. So now that question is in my mind, how did they get on the domain controller? So we see that's talking to here. It's talking to system. We don't see much information here, but let's go ahead now. We have our C2 from earlier, so that 192.168 address. Let's go ahead and device network events, where a device name contains ADDS, where remote IP equals that 192.168.255.108. So we've got that guy right there. I am going to need to put that in quotes. So now we can see all the times that this guy tried to communicate out.
Cool.
So we can see a couple things here. So we see the connections. And then we see system.exe again, which is kind of weird, but we'll notice what folder system.exe is in.
No, wow.
and also notice what port.
22. Yeah, wow.
So I wonder what we're doing there. And it definitely looks like we're copying some files somewhere just based on look at that. So let's just go ahead. When we see something that we don't know what it is, I'll normally take it over to VirusTotal. I will just plug in the hash and we'll see what we get back. So, PSFTP must have been copying something. So now we can go ahead and see what device events were run with that system.exe on ADDS01.
So Riley, I obviously know the answer to this, but what is the NTDS folder signifier?
Oh, sorry. NTDS. The NTDS folder is where the NTDS.did is stored. So it's where the Active Directory database is stored. So it's very possible that and here's just a little cheat. When sometimes something doesn't come up, you can just do star. But it's more than likely someone copied something off the system, and we don't know what here. We just know that Duck at this address did something here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is say device.
So I mean, but I mean, it sounds like the assumption we're going on here is that they probably are copying your Active Directory database out.
Yes, that would definitely be the assumption. Absolutely.
No, you know the answer to this already. I'm just
I know.
Spoil the end, but
yeah,
this is the light bulb flipping on right now, so I'm getting there.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is kind of how we when I first started out, they gave us a anonymized data, and we started to hunt through it and look through to see these sort of things and be like, oh, there's that light bulb moment. So since I'm interested in seeing, did anything happen if the NTDS.did? Once again, this is an overly broad query. You would typically have something that would be a little bit more specific, but I'm actually going to get rid of the .did here. I know it once again. I know what I'm looking for because I did it. Oh, well, would you look at that? NTDS2.did.
Oh.
I wonder why that's there.
Twice as nice.
It's a backup, right? Like somebody must have just done a copy of it just to like back it up.
Yeah, I mean, as you do before you publish these production.
But hey, if we click on that file event, and then we look at the process tree for that file event, look who's up top there. Yeah,
Mr. TP.
Yeah. So executing cmd.exe, obviously the meta interpreter spawned a shell, and then it ran PowerShell to copy the .dit. And in case, if for those of you out there that know, or if you don't know, you can't just copy the ntds.dit. You have to, the service can't be running. So if we were smart here, we would also look for, say, all right, instances where someone stopped the Active Directory domain service.
Sure.
Because then you can do whatever you want to the .dit. So if we take that there, so now we know so let's go over what we know so far based on the data that we went through. We were able to see that, okay, someone exfilled the ntds.dit, or we assume they did. Certainly looks like they did. Just based on that, based on this event here. If we look down, more than likely to process events to be able to see that a little more. Or if we were to dig on this system, we could also see that. But someone copied the ntds.dit. Someone, as an administrator, someone created a service or a service or scheduled task on the system to run the this lovely meta interpreter, the mrtp.exe, and then they went back and they ran. So somehow this got on the system. So now we got to figure that out. We got to look to see. Let's go back to that wonderful little web server we got going on there. So we're going to look for, once again, device file events, system.exe. So to make things a little easier on ourselves, let's take a look at that at the web box. Just take a look at what open alerts now. So we pivoted off an alert. For sake of argument, originally I was saying, all right, it wasn't detected. I was a very noisy adversary. I was running Mimikatz. I was dumping LSAS. I was doing all the things that, look super suspicious. So let's just see here. So we've got actual Mimikatz detected. So let's just take a look at the alert page for this guy here. It's slow sometimes. That's okay. So we've run w3p.exe. Once again, we're back to looking at this at what is theoretically what we know is a web shell at this point.
Sure.
Somehow they've dropped and they've executed this system.exe to spawn the reverse shell, and they've run a PowerShell command to literally, if we are able to click on this guy right here, and it shows us the command that was run.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be down here. With the anomalous activity, we can go ahead and look at it in the timeline, and we'll see right before those files showed up that a PowerShell command was run to literally download Mimikatz to GitHub.
Yeah.
Or somewhere in here.
Definitely need to block GitHub.
Because don't let your security folks use, otherwise they might want to block GitHub.
So anyone watching, block GitHub.
Yes.
Yeah. HTTPS inspection on GitHub.
Anyway, so obviously there's somehow, some way, someone is running commands via this web box here. So we are going to go ahead and, oh my God, I don't want the email to pop up. All right, so let's get that to resize. And we're going to set a control-delete. And So, oh my gosh, there's a web shell. I forgot to log out of this box. All right. So typically, and if we go back and if we look in the when we look in the IIS logs, let's see here. This is a very noisy web shell. It leaves a lot of TMP files all over the place.
Looks pretty rad.
Yeah, it does.
So we see that, and oh, what do we see right here in the IIS logs? We see a file called cmd.asp executing Windows system.exe.
But right before that, it says, "Hi, Kevin."
Classic hacker tools.
Yeah.
So once again, this is stuff like you're seeing the log file here. This is the adversary, trying to be a little bit more sneaky and just, rather than dropping the file and executing it, they're trying to execute it using WebDAV, that sort of thing. So you're going to see that stuff right there. Let's see. Once again, and typically what you'll see, you might see an adversary come in over the course of a couple of days. They might run a couple commands and then, go do something else and then come back a couple days later, run a few more commands and try a couple different things. Once again, they're trying not to be noisy. So that can contribute to, you might see an alert one day, it might not happen again, you'll ignore it, or you'll have, that indicates that's something you want to keep an eye on. And okay, once again, more web shell stuff. We see some PowerShell this time. Oh, we see them trying to stop Defender. So now, let me try. I guess let me zoom in here a little bit. This will show this. So this is something that was not picked up. And if we go back, I can show you the exact advanced hunting creed used to actually pick up on this. But this is them executing a command to disable real-time monitoring on the system.
Wow.
So
hey, can I borrow that? Sometimes I need that on my image servicing machine.
So now there are mitigations for this. You can enable functionality like tamper protection that would mitigate some of these things. Once again, I went ahead. I intentionally didn't enable that functionality.
Yep.
And once we find out how they drop the web shell, I'll actually show you how you can see that in the results. That I even forgot that I had done that. I'm not gonna lie, because that was like a couple days ago. But okay, so here's where we actually see the first instances of cmd.asp showing up, and we see it around this file called saveany.asp. So let's go ahead. Let's just open up a web browser here. Let's just check out what saveany.asp is. Oh my gosh, it's a file upload form. It literally select folder just lets me upload arbitrary files. It looks like. But we shouldn't worry because it's got a password. It's secure. So I think we're fine.
Seems legit.
Yeah.
Unless the password's "Hey Kevin."
Well, for your information, I think the password is "This is okay" or something like that. I think the password is literally "This is okay." And those are both things. I didn't write them. They're both things that are floating out there on the internet if you care to look. Generic file upload forms.
One of the things that I want to make sure that, we've pointed it out several times, but like bears repeating. So you've explicitly, disabled things or not configured things, and the explicitly disabling. Okay, I get that. That's more intentional, but the absence of protection is the big risk here.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this and you're saying, oh, I haven't even considered enabling this, or I've turned that off because I didn't understand the setting, or whatever, or if you're, that's kind of the point here is you must have these controls in place, or you look at the kind of stuff that you could easily get impacted with.
And the important thing to stress here, it doesn't matter if it's Microsoft, doesn't matter if it's a third party, just have a security system that is stopping these easy, simple attacks happening in your environment. You don't want to be the guy on the front page of the newspaper.
Yeah, because I mean, we don't just go into customers that are using Defender. We go into customers that are using every single security solution under the sun you could possibly imagine. Whether it be Komodo, it could be Trend, it could be Symantec, it could be McAfee. There are configuration items, and a lot of this is consistent across the board that you need to make sure that you're doing. I would love for you to use Defender, but if Defender isn't your weapon of choice, if it's another product, you should make sure that their cloud protection is enabled. If you're using Symantec, make sure that their equivalent settings are configured. And I do want to actually point out here that in this case, a file being dropped by W3WP in and of itself is not malicious. W3WP not running code, or not actually, it might be malicious. In this case, we would not have flagged this. Defender would not have flagged this as malicious because, hey, it's not like it's executing. We don't know what it is. It didn't get caught as actually, it may have been caught as a web shell. I need to go back and check. I don't think this particular one was. But this is the sort of stuff that might not ever have an alert surface for it. So it's something you want to be looking out for. Or in your environment, if you know that, let's say, we're not going to ever have, there should be no reason that IIS should be dropping a .asp file. You'd want to you can build a custom detection for that in MDATP. And we can actually show you, going back to show you how you see these things.
Well, it comes back to, if you're going to have a website where you need to upload files, you need to be very tight in what files you're uploading.
Yeah.
Yes.
And explicitly say, I expect it to be these types of files, and you put them into a quarantine or an environment that is scanned, because you don't want to get to the point where you're getting just random files put up there. It's like SQL injection protection.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie. There are vendors out there and there are applications out there that I don't even need to upload a web shell to make it happen. They've got web shells. The developers were nice enough to code a web shell in there already for the adversary. There's absolutely. I even thought about just making a little website that happened to have a CMD to demonstrate that, oh, these files don't necessarily have to be dropped. It could be a developer that makes a mistake. So in this instance, these are both things that in the real world probably might never happen, but the concept of uploading a file is something that does happen and is something you do need to keep an eye out for.
Yeah. Totally.
So we've taken a look at that. So let's see if we can see instances where, because if we go through this alert, you're actually never going to see an alert for real-time protection disabled. That's just not something that's alerts that's going to be surfaced because as far as we're concerned, that someone just ran a PowerShell command to do it. So it's let's see here. Oh wow, has it already been almost an hour?
Yeah, we're hitting 1 hour.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I didn't even realize that.
Time flies with this sort of session.
Yeah. So basically, we're going to device process events. So once again, we're going to look for device process events where the initiating process, where is it? Parent file name equals w3wp.exe, where command line contains PowerShell. So now we're just going to look for any time that w3wp.exe executes PowerShell. Something I do want to point out is that if you have an application that's legitimate internally that is executing PowerShell out of IIS, you should really not be doing that.
Think of a potential career change.
And not tell anybody and just walk out the door.
Yeah, exactly.
So, hey, look at that.
So a side tangent on that. I once started down the path of trying to write a lightweight web application that was extensible via PowerShell script. So you essentially would have a web service that would run any PowerShell scripts that you dropped into a specific folder. So
that doesn't sound like a security issue at all.
I told you, I don't care about security. I just want stuff to work.
At the very start of my career, before I worked for Microsoft, I did a very similar thing, where I wanted to write my entire application in server-side PowerShell. Screw ASP, screw PHP,
Yes.
PowerShell, output HTML, PowerShell to process the form. And I got very far in that process before I realized what a bad idea that was.
I was trying to run, config manager commandlets on the server instead of having to write C# or whatever to.
I was going to say, I was hoping that it was on the config manager server that you were putting an open web console to your PowerShell session that was running with your user context.
Maybe, yes.
Yeah. And actually, user context, once again, and I do also want to stress something, that this typically would not be possible unless you intentionally went in to IIS configured to run a system. I did so. So we've kind of gotten off on a side tangent here, way on a side tangent, because now we're looking at disabling Defender. We were originally looking to see how they dropped, how they got that admin stuff. So let's go ahead. So we know they're on the web box. We know all the different things about this web box. So let's take a look at device process events. Oh, go away. Snooze again. I'm just going to ignore those. Also, and if you do get Defender ATP, make sure that you watch it. I've worked with people that have, they'll have 1,000 events sitting there waiting for an action to do something. So device process events, where so the initiating process equals we're coming back to our system.exe.
Cool.
And then we want to see all the things that did. So on that query, let's do it contains. Obviously, oh, look, all this good stuff.
Wow.
Someone was very active. Let's look at 100 items per page.
It's crazy.
So there's 29 instances that someone ran some command out of there. And once again, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to do it Adam's way. We're going to uncheck all.
Don't placate him.
No, he realized this is a superior method. Look
Yeah,
how magical
UI.
this is.
I reckon UI is going to win over the scripting versus UI.
Yes.
So if I wasn't in going through a console session to another server, I'm sure it would be faster to type it out. But there just seems to be such horrible latency right now.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks because the server is literally directly behind me that this is running on. So we're going to look at this process command line. Once again, we're seeing downloading that, which is not particularly surprising.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing lots of instances where we're running cmd.exe. So what that means for us is that we're going to kind of have to get a little bit more specific here. So we want to look for instances where the same process command line contains cmd.exe. And this is, once again, where file name, let's just say, contains Mimi. Because we're looking for Mimikatz.
Sure.
So we see Mimikatz.exe in this case was created. Obviously, at this point, we know for sure that commits were dumped. So now what we're going to do is you can come in here and you can switch that up. So understanding process command line contains Mimi. File, and then we're just going to see all the command lines that Mimikatz initiated. Because so typically, if you're not familiar with how Mimikatz works, in this case, we will see, oh, hey, so we see it adding a user, creating a domain user. We see it doing that. We see it, trying to run a cmd2.txt. Don't know what they were thinking there. So we can see all this wonderful stuff here. And we see that they like some net commands. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to keep we're going to back all that out, and we're going to say where process command line contains net. So what this is going to now do is it's going to show us all the times that net was run on the system. So you're going to, your net user, net use. Oh, it's going to be a lot of data, typically. But it's the easiest way to get at the information that you're looking for here.
So while we have dead air, oh dang it! All right.
Sorry.
Too slow.
Sorry, I always forget the whole dead air thing about always be talking.
No. On this channel, we've gotten feedback about that.
Too much talking.
Too many.
Too many talking.
Too many talking.
I've got so many ideas for merch.
No.
I just love that you took that and ran with that, Adam.
Oh yeah. We've Steve and I were talking. Our retrospective video is going to just be our favorite comments from the comment section. We're gonna how it's the people read mean tweets on Jimmy Fallon or what.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. Just let's read mean comments.
Yeah.
All right.
Some of the comments are really, really good, and we appreciate the constructive feedback.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So we see all this wonderful stuff here. There's obviously a lot of data here. So what we're going to go ahead and do to get this down just a tad, because there's 205 items. I don't want all that. I want to look at all the net user commands. Oh my gosh. Look at what we're doing here. We're changing the password for the administrator account on the domain. So the way that this occurred in this particular instance is Mimikatz is run. If we look at device logon events, I am certain, I haven't actually checked yet, but I know it should be there. So account name contains administrator, where device name contains, what was it, web. So evidently our administrator account for the sober NA domain was logged into this box. If we were to drill down to this a little more and we take a look here, we'll see that particular account was run. We can dig into some of the alerting that we have here, particularly this one for password hashes dumped from LSAS memory. We'll see that at the time that this administrator account was logged in, the password hashes were dumped, and that's how we were able to gain domain admin. Yeah. There are mitigations in place for pass the hash in Windows 7 forward. With protection against WDigest, so it means that just by the virtue of the user having logged into the system doesn't mean that they would be vulnerable to pass the hash attack. The user does have to be logged in at the time. So a domain admin had an active session, locked session, something at the point in time that Mimikatz is run to dump the password hashes. We see all this wonderful stuff here. So that's how we know. That's how we've kind of figured out how we got compromised. We've gone through the process to see. We saw a web shell. We looked at the IIS logs. We looked to see, okay, we saw this weird stuff on a system that really wasn't related, or looks like it was potentially related to the campaign that's going on here, but it didn't go anywhere. It was someone executing a Word doc, and they tried, and it was an Azure AD join system, so there was nothing to dump. And we were able to progress all the way to see, okay, so now they've dumped the ntds.did, and it looks like they've copied it off somewhere. So that's kind of the advanced hunting in a nutshell. I'm sure I did a absolutely horrible job explaining some of this stuff, but
It's better than what we did.
We showed you how to get to see money. I mean, come on.
Which is important. Listen,
Yeah.
it's very, very important. See money.
Everybody wants to see money.
Yeah, so you tracked down one alert.
all these other alerts are related. So once again, we have all these alerts for Mimikatz. We have the same alert for Microsoft Word. And that's one that I like to make sure especially when I'm working with customers, that I stress to them is that drilling into these alerts is great, and then looking at the data, taking it a step further. A lot of times, if you have the question, okay, so these suspicious PowerShell command lines were run initiated out of IIS, but how? So it's drilling into that that's really, really important to be able to understand. And especially, even as an endpoint administrator or an endpoint engineer, not necessarily focus as much on the security and the hunting side, being able to understand that, okay, if I see this alert pop up, if I see this, even if I just get a Defender alert pop up, I need to be thinking about how did that get there, and that sort of methodology and mindset.
So it sounds like it's the 5 Ws from elementary school, right? Or I don't know what they actually call it. The who, what, when, where, why, how. Yes. You just need to have that in your OneNote, and that's what you fill that form out every time you're tracking a threat. It sounds like.
Yes, and and a lot of times,
I know how doesn't have a beginning W, but just saying.
With them, not with them. I don't know what it would be.
The silent W.
Yes. Anyway, yeah, it's important to figure out the how, and I'm going to be very honest. There's a lot of times where if the adversary is sneaky enough, you might not get to the point that you're able to say, oh, this is what they use to do the initial compromise. You might not necessarily, if they're advanced enough, might not necessarily see the fact they dropped a file with a web shell. You might just see, oh, there's all of a sudden a user scheduled task that showed up on my domain controller that executes this weird binary that's in C Windows that shouldn't be there. And then you might have to follow the trail from that. You might not even get back to the web shell. You might just know, oh, so we need to do X, Y, and Z to better secure our environment. Yeah, and that's kind of.
So we encountered a thing a couple of years ago that I'm curious to know if this would pick it up as suspicious behavior, because it definitely seems suspicious. So when we were trying to lock down our environment, we were using a privilege elevation tool, and it would to elevate rights as needed and allow executables, trusted executables or hashes or file paths to run properly and stuff. So we blocked the execution of any executables from external drives, and you can't, and really any executables outside of secure locations. So C Windows and program files and program files x86 were trusted, but then everything else, unless it was secured, unless we knew what it was or hashed the values, we block it. Okay, so we started noticing that one of our facilities in a less than free speech location had lots of proxy avoidance hits, and our security guys came to us and said, "Hey, what's going on here? Why are we getting hits on proxy avoidance tools? Shouldn't these be getting blocked?" And what we found was that we were allowing command files, .cmd files, to launch, because the expectation was a command file should contain, or it was either command or bat. I think it's either or. They're basically the same. Someone will correct me and tell me why that's not true. But the inside there should be command lines to executables or something or other things. And so it's like, well, admins or other users might use these to launch batches of things. And so we figured the privilege elevation would still pick up the items inside. So let's allow batch files to run. what we discovered was these proxy avoidance tools were being zipped up with a portable apps engine of some sort. I'm not sure what engine. I can't remember what specifically it was. But the executable was renamed. It was a compiled executable that was renamed to a .bat file. And what that did was there was no executable, no command lines being executed outside of that command file. It was when you launched the batch file, it actually launched as an executable, but with a .bat extension, and it couldn't be hashed because there was no, there was no cert on it or anything like that we could heuristically pick up on it with the tool. And I'm wondering if this type of, this was a couple of years ago, but I'm wondering if like Defender or these threat hunting type things would pick up on that type of behavior where it's like, what in the world is going on here?
I mean, so yeah, absolutely. We would recognize that a batch file was run, and we can actually go ahead, if you would like to see, we can see that. And then we can collect that file and analyze it. So it's not, a lot of times adversaries will avoid dropping like a batch file or something, primarily for the reason so that they can keep it in memory. But in your case, we would be able to detect that and hash that. Yeah.
Cool. I'll have to dig out what that was. I think I have it in a folder still somewhere. All the files, but it was very intriguing digging into it because it's like, how in the world is this happening? It didn't make any sense.
Yeah. And if you do want to kind of see more with this without having to set up, a Metasploit and build a payload and that sort of thing, there's actually this wonderful Evaluation Lab button here that it will spin up a bunch of VMs for you, and then using various tools attack them, and then it will generate data in MDATP for you. It's
I think we went through that, right, Steve?
Yeah, at a very high level, we didn't.
Yeah, we poked around at it and said, "Hey, I wonder what this does." And we started clicking buttons.
Yeah,
full disclosure, used it one time, but
yeah, I think when we did try it, we then realized our licensing wasn't there. Like literally, we jumped in there initially, went around. Oh, hey, this is what we're going to demo, and then we signed in, and it was gone.
Maybe we do that after another video.
No, we did successfully get through some of it in another iteration or something.
Yes.
But I guess the thing to point out here is you do have to have an E5 license to get into here and start messing with this stuff. Is that correct?
Yep. Yes. So you do have to have an E5 license. I always
just
like
one,
to highlight.
Though, right?
Well,
to start, if you wanted to just get in and start looking at it and try. And you can get a trial. And I'm not saying just try one license. I am not saying.
Yeah, absolutely. No. So if you are looking to just kind of get your feet wet and learn about it a little bit, we do offer a trial. Something that is nice is to be in compliance, every user or device needs to be licensed for MDATP. I do want to stress that. But the trial typically gives you 100 licenses. Because of the nature of Defender ATP, because it can run passive alongside other EDR solutions or antivirus solutions without any system impact, it doesn't fight, it goes into passive mode. It's wonderful. Customers will deploy it to their entire estate as part of their trial. So if you're looking just to test or get a couple systems onboarded, one license will unlock it for you, or you can go the trial route. Unfortunately, there is no button you can press on the console with like EMS or Office 365 that gives you a trial. Yep. There's a trial request form that you have to fill out, or you'd have to have access to the demos site.
Cool. Yep. And to be clear, when you enable this, you are enabling your devices to talk to the ATP interface. Yes. But is it dropping anything on the clients, doing anything additional to the clients when you do that? There's not an extra agent or anything, is there?
So for Windows 10 and Server 2019, what's called the MS Sense agent is already built in the operating system. It's already there. It's just not on when MDATP isn't deployed. For downloadable operating system, that's anything 2016, Windows 8.1 or older. You have to deploy the Microsoft Management Agent to those devices. There is some limitations that you do lose. You don't get live response. You don't get automated investigations. And those are the two main ones I can think of off the top of my head.
But you also don't get current security patches and things like that either.
Well,
So 2016 you do.
Oh, 26. Okay, sorry. Yes.
Windows 8.1 you do.
Windows 7 is just where my head went on that, but you're right.
So Windows 7 is mainstream for Defender, I believe, until 2021 or 2022. Cool. There will continue to have definition updates through a date. That date has not come yet. If you're on 2000, go ahead, Stephen. Sorry.
What I was going to throw in there as well is, look, you can throw this onto your server OSs, but it's a separate license. It's not using the Defender ATP license that is via your E5 licenses. It needs to be done via another license, which I don't recall. There you go.
There are two options for licensing. I've a lot of the licensing knowledge has just rubbed off on me, purely by chance. Two options to license it for servers. You can either go the Azure Security Center route, which is $15 pay as you go, or I think if you do it through an EA, the pricing is a little less. There's also a MDATP for server licenses, which is significantly cheaper than ASC. There are restrictions on who can leverage the MDATP for servers license, so that would be something you have to talk to your Microsoft account representative for to get more information on that. But different options to license it. And it replaces a lot of other products. I think you guys mentioned this in the last video, that this replaces like your Carbon Blacks, your Sentinel Ones out there.
It can replace. It is completely your choice if you do that, but from a Microsoft point of view, we really want you to.
Yeah.
And if you made it this far in the video, we went into the web filtering stuff a couple videos ago, and there was an issue there related to the Siren integration, and they have announced that is not a separate SKU anymore to pay for. You're not having to pay Siren for this. It will be included as part of the deal. I don't know that they've. I don't know that it's released yet, but that is the plan. Is that will what we went through in that video and complained about is not going to be a thing moving forward. So
yeah, cool.
Yes, it's going to be very nice that it's in there. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if they had released it either. I know they've been talking about it for a real long time.
So it's been commented on the tech community page that it's going to be coming, and when it comes out, that'll be awesome. And if you watch that video and you're still on the video here, the reason why that failed was a timing issue. All you need to do is give it time, and everything's happy days.
Yeah, and there's a link. I know we whatever. This show is all about tangents, right? There is in the description of the web filtering video, there is a link to the tech community post that announced web filtering, and if you look at the comments thread, they keep updating the information there. So go subscribe to that thread, and you'll get kind of current with what's going on.
Cool.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
All right. So Riley, we have.
Wow.
I feel like we've barely scratched the surface here, and yet you have got all of our heads spinning, I think, on just the possibilities here. And this definitely looks like it could be a full-time job for business or corporations that need to get in and do this. I imagine you would get to that point with this, that you would have a secure enough environment, or not secure enough, but you're not going to have a huge amount of things you're dealing with, looking at threats that you're having to, or active attacks and things that you're dealing with on a daily basis, but more you set up security, and then it's here if you need it. It's more of an insurance policy. I would hope I think every security person would hope that, right? So it's not like you're necessarily going to spend all your days just digging through these logs looking for malicious things, it seems that you would wait for alerts to pop up and things and then address from there.
Conversely, sorry, go Riley.
No, you go ahead, Stephen. Sorry.
What I was going to say is conversely, it's very important to make sure that you do go into the portal regularly, set a schedule, put a calendar event in your to remind you to go in there, but super important that you actually go and look at the tools and what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it was like Riley was saying, don't just turn this on and then never go back in. There's no point.
Yeah, this is not a tool that can be used passively from an administrator perspective. It's something that does need monitoring, and you can set up to alert you. But absolutely, you should, if you're spending all your days hunting through the advanced hunting data, with exceptions, of course, I would say that's not always the best time spent. What this is intended to do is allow you to look at an alert and say, I want to know more. I want to see how this happened. What was talking to the machine during this time frame? What was talking to the machines that were talking to this machine? What was going on? That sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I think this was excellent.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Learned a lot of how the system works.
I like it. Slowly but surely, we'll break through Adam's anti-security shell and get there.
Maybe we'll also break through the Apple and Android shell as well.
No.
Don't push your luck. Don't push your luck.
See, I'm dreaming for EDR on Android and iOS. I know that's never going to happen, but that would be amazing. I am looking forward to EDR on Linux. That's gonna be really neat. As far as being able to get the same level of data on Linux. And of course, I do want to reemphasize again that several of the attacks that I performed were either A, it's possible due to environmental configurations, or B, because I outright went in and neutered parts of Defender.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Very important to call out.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Well, Riley, we're gonna let everybody off the hook now.
Sounds good.
This will be our record length video, I think, but it's good because there's not really a great way to do this without doing what you did here. So this is just buckle in and enjoy. So thank you so much, Riley, for being here. We definitely appreciate it, and probably have some opportunities to get you back on to talk about some other things. Because you know things, and that's cool. We like to talk to people that know things. And
we like to know things.
Yes.
People like you make it feel like we know stuff, and people think that we know stuff, but we don't.
Knowledge by association.
Know stuff. It's all about who you know, not what you know. Something like that. I don't know. Anyway, well, let's wrap it up. Thanks, Riley.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Riley.
See you next
time.
time.
Bye.
Bye.